Well, I'm working on this cowl business again. I have some reference points. The main one is that top hinge there. That's got to be in the middle of that body line. I've got this one a little bit too high, but it's a lot closer, and as you can see, I got 5 inches in there now. Space that cowl up, and it looks like it's pointed up, which the whole rest of the car is. But if I take the this sill plate here and I put it level with the frame up here in the front, you can see I got about 1.5 inches. It's too high. This cowl should be down here. I could probably deal with 1/2 inch, but 1.5 inches, no. I got a board there on the running board. That's probably a 2¼ inch plain board, and it's pretty much parallel. So the top of this is parallel, and I've got my cowl here pretty good. I've got a piece of 1 inch clamped in there, and you can see it sticking out here. It'll be good enough to weld stuff to. I've got another piece that goes on here. It's right here. And this goes about right here. See, I have to move that upper brace there. But this will all work out. This bar just clamped in there simply because I didn't cut that front one off on the driver's side. But anyway, this piece was welded in on a 90, and this was probably designed for this to weld to it. The other one, I've got it lined up and clamped, and I've got the little cutout here right at the top of the hinge, so that's where this goes roughly. And the edge, somewhere close here to the, it probably should be right on the outside of this plate, or the inside of the plate, which is what they've done here more or less. So I'd have to make another 1 inch piece for that. That's not that big a deal, but this kind of is. I've got to lower this cowl 1.5 inches, or at least 1 inch. I could probably modify that running board, you know, to cover up 1/2 inch. And the only way to do that is either have to raise this back end if I raise this 1 inch, it's not gonna really do too much to lower this. if I take this crossbar out of here and weld it right to the, make the toe board flush with the frame, that'll lower it 1 inch. So what I could do is take this cross piece here out and put it on top of the toe plate. That would lower this 2 inches. 1 inch for this, plus another inch for that. Don't know what the results with that would be. Basically, I could take 2 inches out of that stack of brackets I got over there, and that would keep this geometry I've got here on the cowl right. And the this toe piece would be right, the top of this would be right at the top of the frame, and then I couldn't I guess I could still make brackets there. So if I just lower the front 2 inches, I'm going to put a lot of rake in this front end. So I kind of need to do it front and back. I could leave that rear brace where it's at for now. But if that would just let me lower this whole body 2 inches. It shouldn't be too bad. I've got a good inch here that this body panel is setting above the toe plate, or this, whatever this side panel is. So anyway, I think that's what I'm going to try to do. No way for me to take only 1 inch out without welding it. There's no way I could clamp something in there strong enough. Even welded it wouldn't really be strong enough. So I guess I'll try to lower this to start with. I'll try to leave this one clamped up for now. Mark the frame where it goes, and see what'll happen immediately when I lower that. It's gonna mess with my maybe what I should do is take those two inches out of the front first. That's what I'll do. I'll take the 2 inches out, then I'll try to lower this frame. Well, that's kind of doing what I wanted. I was able to pull that down. See, I opened the gap up here, but this crossbar is still an inch off of the frame. You know, it's possible I could only lower that 1 inch by putting another piece under here. That would be something I hadn't really thought about. But my gap over here closed up good. Maybe it's not really a good idea to lower this 2 whole inches. In fact, I'm going to try it first with 1. I've got some spacers here that I took out of the front, of course. And I'll put these here under the frame. Kind of heavy. Anyway, I'll get both hands and do that. And I'll do the same thing over here. I'll try to lower that 1 inch. Looks like my brace over there fell out in the back, but the front one's still holding. This is all kind of clamped together. I don't think it'll fall apart. Let's move on to that back one, see if I can get it done. Well, after quite a bit of fooling around with this thing, I found the sweet spots. 3 and either 1/2 or 3/8. But I've got the cowl here lined up good. I'm in about 3/8 of an inch right in this area. You can see over there on the other side, it's almost exactly the same. I've got my bar that I clamped in here. It's right. I've got it spaced roughly off the frame. My hole here is good. Got like an 1/8 of an inch. My door panel is going to come in here. I'll have to cut that toe board off of there, turn it in so I can keep my curve. Probably what I'll do is just weld a 1 inch piece of pipe from this corner all the way up into the front of that cowl. I'll cut it off first, and so this will all be good. You got a lot of grinding in that area. This turned out real good. My skin is lining up here. Everything over there is good. I got the side panel over there clamped. That's all good. One bonus of the whole thing is that the gap here in the window almost completely disappeared. I had to move my, whoa, it fell out. Here's my tail brace. And that's 3-4 inches back. And I didn't change my gap any. So I've got a 1 inch right at the front of the wheels. This thing slid over again. It's about centered. but the body's on good and straight. It's got a little bit of taper here. Could be just that sheet metal bent, but that board's fitting right in there. I'm straight here, straight with the cowl. Roof still looks good. So what I did do is I lowered this 1 inch, and due to the angles or whatever, turned out to be 1.5 inches there on that brace. Of course, I don't know if that was right, but that's what lined it back up. And the way I'll do this, boy, it's a good thing I have my hat on. This thing is sharp. I never cut it off. I've banged my head on it 3-4 times. I have blood running everywhere if I wasn't careful. But what I'll do is weld me like a 6-inch piece there that'll go to the inside of the frame, to the outside of this toe board, where that little short piece is right there. And I'll weld 4 pieces like that onto this toe board. This will bring me something I can put into the frame and bolt it. So I'll have 4 mounts here. That'll be good enough, and I'll weld it, of course, real good around that 2-inch piece. And I'll probably take this back one. I might weld this back one, take a 1-inch piece all the way across. That's what I'll do. I'll weld a 1-inch piece all the way across there to the inside of that toe board. Then I'll bolt it down here to the frame. The reason that I don't want to do the same thing on this one is because I'm not exactly sure where the motor and flywheel or the transmission and everything's coming through here. Kind of measured, I suppose. Now I got about 50 inches from the front of the fan pulley to the biggest part of the transmission in the back. So this is showing me 50 right here. That'll move forward a couple inches because I'll weld it right at the corner of that brace, and I'll cut that off and form an angle. So 50 inches will be right at the back of this cross member. So don't know where the center line's going to be. It'll be quite a bit lower than that. I don't know how tall that case is going to stick up. I'll probably just leave this front one clamped up until I decide what I'm gonna do here. Looks like the drive line's gonna go a couple inches under that back brace. I might have to cut this side brace out of here, or that center brace. Right about transmission mount. Again, I don't know where that's at. That's about I don't know, maybe a 8 or 10 inches from the big part of the transmission. And I'm calling this back of the case here, back of the transmission. Well, it mounts right there, I think. Yep, it's about 7 or 8 inches, so that cross member may work for a transmission. We'll see. Yeah, I need to get the motor and transmission together, and once I can get it here in the shop, I could use that transmission. It's not the right one, but I probably still got another week or 10 days to get the other one shipped. Got my main bearings for the motor here. I don't have rod bearings yet. I sell Mopar distributors, so I got a good electronic one up there. I got a little cheap bore scope. I looked around, all these cylinders are pretty good except for this back one. It's got some rust in it. It's not terrible, but it's not real good either. But all the rest of them don't look bad at all. I think the motor will be fine. Can't really tell too much. It does look like it's down a little lower. But all of the trim pieces there on the running board and all that looks a lot better. I really don't know what I'm going to do about this thing in here. I guess I ought to measure it and see what kind of tires I'm going to be able to put in it. Well, I got some bear claw latches here. They have a little thing here on the end with a bar that slides up and down, and that's how you lock the door. But in the interest of size, I just cut that off. And what I did here is I mounted this, cut a hole in here, and it just happened to be that latch fits. Now the arm goes down here on the bottom, and I've got to cut a little hole right here for it, and I'm going to put it flush with the door. So I have to I'll have to mark me a little place in here, cut that, and I'm not sure how deep this should go actually. if I put it in to this depth, not that deep, I'm going to put it in as far as I can, try to get this striker bolt in as far as I can. But anyway, first thing I got to do is mark me a little place here so I can get this in. Talking and showing you the floor, but I got to cut you know, half an inch or so out of here, so this will slide in. See it there, and then I'll try to get this in as far as I can, and I'm going to just weld this in. It's got provisions to bolt, but I'm not going to bolt it. There's no room in here to do that. Well, there is. I could probably drill holes and put it in, but I'm not going to try to do that. I'm going to just try to put this into this door right there, in as far as I can get it, and I'll have to mark the hole for the striker bolt to go through there, and just weld it in. I decided to do it here on the strong door first to make sure that it's going to work. Anyway, do a little measuring and cutting. I'll bring you back. Well, I got that cut out where this will go flush in there as far as it will go. I marked the center line of the bolt, and that goes in there. So now I'll have to cut another piece out of this side so the bolt will clear. I've got it locked here so I can measure from the top of those jaws to the center line of that hole, and that's basically where I'll take the striker. I mean, yeah, well, I don't know, the piece that gets locked in there, and I can mark this side and we'll try to cut it out. Well, here's the bolt and plate for the door jamb. This is gonna go in here like this. So I'm going to have to cut a groove right here, big enough for this bolt to go through, and then I'll have to figure out some way of getting this into the jamb. But first I need to find the center of this and then cut that to where this bolt will go in. Take a little doing on that. Well, there's a 3/4 inch bolt. Turned out the center line is right here, right in the center of this, and hopefully this will line up. At least I got enough room here for this to slide back and forth. Let me lock it into the plate and we'll see what it looks like. Well, there it is. It's only half locked, but looks like it's in as far as it's going to go. I'll try to knock it in a little further and finish locking it. And there it is, locked all the way. You can see it's holding it pretty good. I've got a little movement in here. I'm not sure what's hitting. We got plenty of room back here. I'm gonna get this in as far as I can. Looks like I cut it a little too far. Didn't really get the center of that right. But the lock is not going in any further. I was assuming that it was hitting the back. Looks like it. But this is good enough. I'll check it out a little more and make sure that it doesn't look like it's quite locked all the way. And I'll show you how it works here. And pull down on this unlocks it. And it threw it over there someplace. But definitely is a good lock. So I'll just make sure that this is centered up on the hole, and I've got it flush as possible. And I'm just going to tack this in a couple of places. Again, like I said, I'm just make sure that I've got as much room in there as I can get. So this is not going to really be centered in the door jamb. But for some reason, these large bear lock things are like $50 and the little ones were like $75. So I opted for that. I figured if they wouldn't work, I'd send them back, but it looks like they will go into this door, and then I'll have to modify this thing. Of course, this is a plate that gets welded into the door jamb, and it's got a little bit of wiggle there for the bolt to lock. So I think I'll be good there. Well, I'll just check this out, and then I'll try to spot it up and see what happens. Well, that looks pretty good. I put a little piece of this I cut out here. I'm prying it over. I'm going to weld it solid to the back of this. I don't know which one's straighter, back or front, but I've got, you know, a good 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch almost, in this striker bolt that can move back and forth. So I'm going to just pry it to the back of this. That way I can tack it right here, and I can tack it right here, and that should hold it, and then it wouldn't be that hard to get those tacks out of there if I wanted to move it around if it don't work or something. So let me fire up Mr. Welder and I'll tack it in. Well, there it is. It is. Door is closed and locked. And that was a pretty easy piece go. There it is. Didn't really like the way that closed. Let me get this locked a little better. Well, there it's in. It's closed good. And it opens up. It's got 2 clicks. There's the first click. That's sort of half locked. Still opens. I'll see if I can get a full lock here. There's the first click. There's not really getting that. There's the second click. Now it's both clicked. Takes quite a bit of force to open it. So I think we're good to go there. I'll make sure it works with the door first before I start clean up some of these rough corners and blah blah blah. But there's my door. It'll hold it pretty tight. It's got a 1/16 of an inch, you know. It's enough if you got some rubber in it, it'll slam real good and tight. So that's how you install a bear claw latch. Press on to something else.